Warhammer as a game is one of the most invigorating experiences I've ever had playing a game. You know, there's something about building models, painting them, bringing them onto a table, competing against other people. It's so personal. It's such a personal experience. As a paradox, as fun as this game is equally challenging to get into. I mean, I could remember the hours where I would sit there and just be looking at content, looking over information, and just all of it making absolutely no sense to me at all. But within myself was a determination and a will to learn how to play the game, because it looked fun. In today's video, we're gonna talk about how to get into Warhammer 40,000 as a person that's brand new to the game. Like, this is your first time going down this path. As someone who's been playing games for the majority of my life, as someone who's worked at GameStop for over 10 years, talking about games and selling games on people and explaining games to people is something that I use to live. So please understand, when I say that Warhammer is difficult, please understand that I mean it is one of the most difficult things to learn. There are so many different models you can choose from. There are so many different lists you can build. Like, how do you know what army to buy? How do you know what units to buy for that army? How do you know if that's going to be good? How do you know if that's going to be bad? There are so many questions that you can ask, and when you're there by yourself, it can quickly overwhelm you. We're gonna talk today about getting to a table and playing a game of Warhammer as quickly as possible, and at the same time, how do we spend the least amount of money as possible so that we can just go to a store, put our army down, and learn how to play. But understand, when you look at this purchase for Warhammer, you gotta look at it like you're buying an Xbox, like you're buying a Nintendo Switch, like you're buying a PlayStation. Because when we're talking about an entire Warhammer army, we're talking about models that need to be built, models that need to be painted, and then models that need to be organized in a way where you can put them down on the table and compete and have fun. It is a large investment. I can buy a PlayStation and put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into my PlayStation, and when you buy a Warhammer army, you're putting, hopefully not thousands, hopefully not even hundreds, you're putting a significant portion of time into that army so that you can play. So when you think about a Warhammer army, think about a gaming console. And the reason I say that is because when you invest into a $500, $400 gaming console, that's roughly the amount of money we're talking about when we talk about buying a Warhammer army. How does one go about buying a Warhammer army to go ahead and play? A lot of people on YouTube will tell you to go out and to buy a combat patrol, spend $150 on 500 points for an army, build them, paint them, learn how to do that, and then decide whether you want to continue to invest into that army. Listen, I think don't do that, guys. Save your money. You only want to spend money on individual units once you have a large base of models. Don't go out and buy a box here and a box there, because you're starting out for the first time. You don't even know what you're doing. You just, if you do that, you just spent $150 to paint something, when you could just go on eBay and buy $20 worth of a model and just learn how to paint that. You know, I would just do that versus spending $150 on something that gives you a quarter of the amount of points you need to play in a 2,000 point game. Don't save your money. Don't spend $150 on a combat patrol. What I'm going to recommend that you do is this, and you do what you want to do. This is just my recommendation. Remember, our goal is to spend the least amount of money as possible and have an army that's built and painted so that we can go play as quickly as possible. What I would do is go to eBay and type in Warhammer army. And when you do that, you're gonna find a bunch of listings with a bunch of different Warhammer armies. I will tell you guys that in general, when you buy combat patrols, you get 500 points, like I said earlier. You would need to buy 4 combat patrols to have 2,000 points to be able to go and compete against other people in Warhammer. And you would need more to be able to paint the army, build the army, to be able to have specific units that the combat patrols don't provide. You're talking easily over $800 to get a Warhammer army started. When we talk about $800, guys, you have to keep that in perspective, because when we look at eBay for other Warhammer armies, suddenly the prices don't look that bad, because we see $400 over here, $650 over here, or best offer, right? We see $257.13 for this army over here, right? There's a bunch of different listings that you're going to be able to find that are a lot less than spending $800, right? So I'm going to look to see if I can find something that seems like a good deal. Right here, I found a Sisters of Battle army that's on auction. So this is most likely going to sell much more for the 280 that we see over here, but it has a bunch of unpainted models, so you would have to do some painting if you were going to purchase this army over here. But when we take a look at the description, it says that all the models are primed and they're all built, which is important. This is 1,730 points worth of a Warhammer army right now. So if you could purchase this at around $400, a little over 400, I would imagine, would be a lot less than the $600 that you would have had to build yourself and then paint to build an army after buying a combat patrol. You would have 1,700 points, which means that you'd be able to go to a store, and then if you wanted to buy, you know, another unit here or there to get to the 2,000 points, you easily could, and then you would have spent maybe $400, $500 on an army, as opposed to spending, you know, $700, $800 to build and then paint something. You know, the whole thing is that the whole idea is that I showed that over there. You know, we could find something that's even cheaper than that. You don't have to spend, you know, I bought an army the other day on eBay, a Death Guard army. Like, I literally bought a Death Guard army on eBay for like just a little over $300, and I got almost like 1,500 points for an army, right? And now I have a Death Guard army. Even though Death Guard is probably one of the worst armies in the entire game right now, I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, a year from now they might be one of the strongest, or 2 years from now they might be one of the strongest, you know? That's why I always say, like, look at the weaker armies, because that's generally where you're gonna find your best deals. Moral of this video here is that all we're doing is we want to get into Warhammer, but we have to learn how to play the game. So instead of sitting there and spending hours upon hours learning, watching videos, doing all these things, I mean, by all means, that's what I did. You can go ahead and do that, right? But if I could do this and learn how to play the game all over again, listen, it's fun, you know? I would just go out. If I have the money, I'll go out, buy an army like that listing we saw earlier, get it in the mail, immediately have something I can play with, go play. If I don't have fun or I don't like the army, the reality is that I can go ahead, put that back on eBay, I can sell it, I can paint them and then sell it for even more money than I originally paid for, and then I can either get my money back and then be done with Warhammer, or I can get my money back and buy another army, right? Or I can like the army that I bought, keep it, buy individual models that I want, or I can go out and buy a combat patrol if the combat patrol has the units that I need, and now I have a 2,000 point army I can play like just like that. Like, you're done, it's over, like, that's it. And I don't see anybody on YouTube talking about learning how to play Warhammer this way, guys, and it's definitely a huge investment to get into, to get started. But like I said, you buy it, if you don't like it, sell it. You know, just get your money back. It's okay. That's how you guys get into the game. I would also recommend, if you want to make smaller purchases, if you don't have the money to go out and just buy an army like that, then think about learning how to play Kill Team first. There are a ton of videos on this channel with guides and strategy guides specifically for Kill Team. So I recommend that you watch those videos so that you can learn how to play Kill Team and then work your way up to the other version of Warhammer. And that's gonna be that, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, you can leave those questions in the comment section below. And yeah, I hope you have fun, and I hope you find a good deal with the Warhammer armor that you end up buying. All right, peace out, people.